Nigeria this morning. Plateau Governor grieves as death toll in Christmas attack hits over 115. Tinubu security agencies to fish out culprits. Federal government lacks political will to eliminate marauding terrorism of Tang. Can Northern Governor Senators condemn attack, seek probe. Federal government will go after economic sabotage in 2024, says Senate leader. Confirms National Assembly passage of 2024 appropriation bill on Saturday. Now, the leadership says Plateau killings and voice of death won't escape. Tinubu vows death toll rises to 157 as governors. Others condemn attacks. You also want to see a picture story of the houses razed down and some of the cars that were also burnt in that attack. But above that, you see still external reserve depleted by $4.28 billion as Naira maintains fall, and that's about 11.55%. Well, first news, alleged CBN looting, MFLA Mustafa Lemo lied. Investigation plans afoot to invite ex-SGF for interrogation over $6.23 million cash stolen from CBN vaults. Manhunt ongoing from prime suspect in SGF's office, letter dispatched to Akume for information. You also see the Tinubu Hills Fubara for moving towards peace. Now, Nigerian News Direct, envoys of death, pain, sorrow responsible for Plateau killings. Tinubu as Northern elders knock military, and that's on page 2. You also want to see that Nigeria's external reserves dropped by over $4 billion amid Naira depreciation. Power Minister talks about more electricity in the Yuletide season. But Daily Sun, power struggle in PDP intensifies. Articles men, new generation members fight for control. Supreme Court cases stall search for IU's replacement. Opposition party may hold mini convention in February. And then you see bottom page there, NAF hits 6 illegal oil refining sites in Rivers, and that's on page 5. Nigerian Tribune looks at that story just above the masthead, says Tinubu hosts governors in Lagos, hails Fubara on commitment to peace in Rivers, but then outrage as death toll in Plateau reaches 160, 221 houses burnt, and that's the leading story there. You also want to find other headlines below that lead. And Blueprint is printing this morning, still on the massacre, says envoys of Plateau massacre won't escape justice. Tinubu charges security agencies, state governors on immediate rescue. Amnesty can, others urge probe, arrest of tension. 50,000 troops involved in counter-terrorism nationwide assures improved security in 2024, coming from Labaja on page 6. Daily Trust is still looking at the massacre there. Picture story very gory and tragic. Outrage over Plateau massacres. Death toll hits 155. Farming communities, Mieti Allah, trade blame over killings. But you also want to look at that story, 2023, how fast data depletion, bad network, slow 5G dominated Nigeria's telecom sector, amongst the other stories on pipeline explosion in River State, bottom page. Now, let's look at the Guardian this morning. There says, I'm sure you can see an ATM machine and a telephone there showing error processing payment. Now, slow e-payment channels worsen cash Yuletide troubles, and that's on page 6. You also want to look at 2 months after varsity teachers insist they are being denied 4-month salary, and that's on page 3 of The Guardian. New Telegraph still runs with terrorists occupying 64 Plateau communities, schools as death toll rises, and that's coming as the lead story. Federal government will soon clamp down on economic sabotage. Bamidele speaks about that. And FAC increased VAT exchange rate difference, push November revenue to 1.783 trillion naira. Business Day, refining outlook brightens on Dangote Port Harcourt plants. 6 ways Forex reform has helped Nigeria's economy. And just above that, why Lemo or the TTB directors are wanted by CBN investigator. And Plateau killings worry Northern elders as 113 bodies surfaced as numbers counting. Now let me come to you, Chooks. Massacre, tragic event in Plateau. 115, that's the number that we're counting at the moment. How do you look at this dark Christmas?
Yes, it's very sad. Some have reported 155, some have reported as much as 160, quoting humanitarian sources, Red Cross and what have you. It's very tragic because Plateau has become very sadly a recurring decimal. You know, I was just reading a story about how the Sultan in 2008, mind you, the Sultan was stubborn in 2006, and as early as 2008, he and then Khan president, co-chair of the Interfaith Council, Cardinal Onayekon, visited Jos, you know, and for the same reason. So imagine from 2008, this is 2013, and we're still talking about the same crisis. Don't forget that this crisis began as a political crisis in 2001. I think 9th of I think a day or so after the 9/11 bombings in America, you know, just main market went up in flames, and since that time it's been. But I don't want to believe that it's a religious problem, because you see Taraba State, you see Benue State, even states where recently in Ondo State, I think Ondo State, there are two communities that were at war. So I think it's an African problem, and most times it's triggered by poverty and idleness. When people are not engaged, the idle mind they say is devil's workshop. So I heard the government talking about federal government fishing out sponsors of this crisis. But I think also the state has to look inwards and also try to engage more with people, because, you know, whether we like it or not, you know, the Fulanis have come to stay in Plateau State. They're in Plateau State, you know, just like we're in FCT. I'm Igbo from Anambra, but I live in the FCT instead. So you have Baggies who are the aborigines of FCT. You learn to cohabit with everybody. You know, basically everybody has got the right to live, to reside wherever. We know of Nigerians who live there. Even the Plateau. I think the biggest company in Plateau is NASCO, and NASCO is from Eritrea. So if a person can come from Eritrea to invest in Plateau State, you know, anybody should be able to invest in Plateau State. And happily, it's good that tomorrow, world renowned artist Wyclef Jean is performing tomorrow in Plateau State. You know, there have been a lot of criticisms as why the state will want to, you know, allow such a fiesta go on. But also don't forget that, you know, the timing of these attacks. You know, last week the state government announced that Wyclef Jean was coming to Nigeria to open a film village in Jos, and there's a very big, massive housing estate there. So if you cancel such an event, you know, aside the huge sums, you know, already invested in that, yes, aside that, you also be caving into these agents of doom. I think President Tinubu called them envoys of death. But then, it also calls to question the role of our police force. Don't forget that a few months ago, we were here talking about how Bayelsa State government was crying that the police should not keep its SWAT team in Opunembe in the state, and how the police IG, without consulting the governor of Bayelsa State, sent in scores of special tactical police officers. So you ask yourself, Bayelsa is about 3 or 4 times further from Abuja than Plateau. So where are these SWAT teams? Because see, there's this report that we have over 50,000 soldiers. We have about 235,000 in our armed forces. Then about 50,000 of them are involved in internal peacekeeping operations, northeast, north central, southeast. Then you ask yourself, what is the role of the police? Because see, until we put police on the spot, because the constitutional duty of enforcing law and order lies primarily with Nigerian police force. So have the Nigerian police abdicated this responsibility? Because I know that there's a commission of police in Plateau State. You also have the SSS, DSS there. And I know that there's hardly any village in Nigeria that don't have a police outpost or police station, you know. So where are these policemen? the SSS, they have offices all around Nigeria, you know, because, you see, I think 2 months ago, one Fulani chief was killed, 70-year-old, and very embarrassingly, it took the military. The military is not even trained for homicide. The military is not trained for, the military is trained for containing external aggression. But found out that the police took to their heels, and it was the military. In fact, when I saw the report, it was the military that found the composing corpse of this Fulani chief. You know, I expected the police high command to recall the commissioner of police in Plateau State, because it's gross dereliction of duty. Imagine, it's like allowing soldiers go to confiscate hard drugs, which is the duty of NDLEA, or making them go after pipeline vendors. Because we have to be very careful. See, what is the role of the Nigerian police in all this crisis? It's very important. Like I said earlier, the IG sent special tactical team to Bayelsa ahead of November elections. But today, in Plateau is 200 and about less than 300 kilometers from here, you know, where the theater of this problem. And not a single policeman, we've not heard that any policeman engage these people, because they seem to come under the cover of darkness, kill everybody. And the killings didn't happen in an hour or 2 hours. From reports we got, the killings started on the 24th, about 10 p.m. on 24th, and lingered up to 25th on Christmas Day.
You know, the interesting conversation here is that even yesterday, Majid mentioned this, you know, the role of the police and policing in effect, where he said that they probably have forgotten their first right of duty and are busy, you know, protecting or providing security, VIPs and elites, and rather than have themselves in the center of this conversation. So the buck stops at the table of the IGP at the end of the day. But this Police Service Commission, how do all of these people discuss this kind of intervention?
No, you see, the Police Service Commission, is merely advisory. Don't forget that they don't have powers of recruitment. They don't have powers of posting. They don't have powers to discipline officers. They are more of advisory, you understand? So, but for day-to-day operations, the buck stops at the table of the IG. You see, when I was a reporter with The Sun, we did a story. You remember when, because to tell you how everywhere in the world, counter-terrorism, counter-insurgency, anywhere in the world is handled by the police, anywhere in the world. We've seen hostage taking, you know, people who have gone to rescue people from hostage. We've seen shootings, mass shootings in the US. It's the police. When former IG, Hafiz Ringim, went to Borno State to commission armored personnel carriers, and he made a very profound statement that the days of Boko Haram were numbered. And he came back to Abuja. Boko Haram terrorists literally rode in his convoy and blasted the police headquarters. Of course, President Jonathan was very embarrassed and sacked Ringim. And Ringim, I wrote a story at the time that Ringim disappeared. You know, he fled Nigeria. And at the time, his lawyers threatened to sue and asked them to sue because we had evidence. And since that bombing of the Nigerian police force headquarters, it would have seemed that the military, the police force, threw its hand in the air and abdicated that responsibility to the military. That's why we have military, 50,000 soldiers maintaining law and order within Nigeria.
But do you think do we even have enough police troops? We have over 370,000 police, and that means you have one policeman to 450,000 citizens.
Yeah.
Again, you talk about the numbers. You also talk about the enabling environment and the factor of remuneration review for the police officer. You saw the two that were dismissed. Backstage, some of them said, well, when they won't pay them on time and they do not have, you know, you need to go to the police quarters to see the kind of squalor that they live in. So, again, we're asking for them to do more. How about also putting on the table the conversation of review of their remuneration?
No. My background is sociology, and unfortunately for me, my thesis was public attitudes towards police role performance. So I've done extensive studies on the Nigerian police, and I sympathize with the police force because, you see, at the dawn of democratic rule in Nigeria in 1999, we have thought, don't forget that a retired general became president. And who did he appoint as the Minister of Police Affairs? He appointed David Jemimbewan, a retired police force. And some of us at the time criticized that because the police, don't forget what somebody like Alozie Ogbada said about the police in about 1986, that it will not be in the interest of the military to have an efficient police force. But Alozie said that at the time because the military was in power. don't forget what he told us about APCs that the now late Sunday Adewusi brought as IG during Shagari's time. Under Sunday Adewusi, President Shagari created the mobile police force, and they so armed the police force that when the military took over in 1983, what they did was first, seize all those armored personnel carriers. And what Alozie said at the time is that it wasn't in the interest of the military at the time, the military government at the time, to have an efficient police force, because an efficient police force was capable of counterfoiling any coup in the event of any adventurous soldier. At the time, it earned Alozie Ogbaja, reprimand by the police authority, and they literally threw him under the bus. Of course, we know how he was frustrated out of the police force. But that said, from 1999 till date, how many years have we embarked on police reforms? No.
All right, let's, I mean, that's a rhetorical question, but I'm sure the IGP is watching. But interestingly, those who are still, providing protection for the VIP, they're living better lives than ordinary policemen. So that's another thing, perhaps, that has left them in that, So how do we also bring that back?
No, aside that, because it's very important. Because, you see, if we don't talk about law enforcement, you see, it's not, you see, there are crimes. We had a meeting with a very top security officer last week, and there are more crimes in America than in Nigeria. There are more crimes, there are more murders in the UK, perhaps more than Nigeria. But the difference is that when people commit these crimes, they are apprehended. But Nigeria, since 1914, people come, they sack entire villages. Okay, look, imagine the Fulani chiefs who were killed. They're also human beings, you understand? But the police, because of remuneration and indiscipline, because you see, we saw a former police CSO to Jonathan, who sued the police that his rank or something, And you see some people are DIGs today, some people are AIGs today, and their mates are still CSPs. These are some of the issues. So if there's no motivation, then the few you have who are motivated.
Okay. Let's just. I'm sure this is a very tropical conversation and very disturbing, because then it leaves a gap in our security apparatus. But I'm hoping that the IGP would also review the police reforms, which you have also mentioned here. But let's look at some other stories. I mean, the alleged CBN looting, MFLA Mustafa Lemon-Lied investigation, plans afoot to invite ex-SGF for interrogation of a $6.23 million cash stolen from CBN vaults, manhunt ongoing for suspect in SGF's office, top CBN officials arrested, detained, make damning revelations, write confessional statements. MFLA endorsed a legal withdrawal of $6.23 million from CBN vaults. People playing the door.
No, you see,
the sacred president of CBN.
Very, very eye-popping. Very revealing, very telling. If you read the Obaze report, your mouth is going to hit, you're just going to hit the floor. Because, you see, but then, beyond that, a system that makes it possible, because, of course, all these are still in the realm of allegations.
Yes.
They've not been proven in court yet. But then a system that makes it possible for one man to withdraw $6 million as CBN governor, that system has to be reviewed. Because we have currently we have a CBN governor, because he is also watching. And like I said earlier, you see, if people, there's an inverse proportion between pain and gain. So if people know that they can commit crime with ease and get away with it, they'll keep. And we saw what happened a few months ago. The immediate past accountant general, who's been arraigned in court, who's standing trial, for over 90 billion naira, theft, who was even reportedly returned 30 billion to federal covers. He was given a pat on the back. He was given an endorsement by the Daura Emirate. And to put this, to juxtapose this, the man who led the anti-corruption campaign in Nigeria, President Buhari, it is his emirate. So the emir of Daura, it's very humiliating for the anti-corruption fight that the emir of Daura, of all emirates, chose to reward the immediate past accountant general. These are the issues. And given the way Nigeria is, I tweeted somewhere that don't be surprised that this investigation is going to get to a point where people say, oh, no, I beg, off your mic. Because of the caliber of persons that will be involved. Look at now, the immediate past SGF has been joined to this controversy. And we saw what the Obase committees, very damning, in fact, they more or less told Emefiele that you lied, because Emefiele put up he called Satan, he brought Satan even to the matter. When he was going on trial, he brought the Bible. When he was defending, he brought Satan into his defense, that it was a satanic allegation. But we saw the pushback by the Obase committee. But you see, the fact remains that whenever we fight graft in Nigeria, there's always an ethnic or religious coloration. Because we're talking about the immediate past Accountant General, the kid gloves treatment he's had. Then Emefiele has spent months in detention. These are the issues. So you have to be very careful. People are calling for, look at the humanitarian affairs minister. Her own is still brewing. Immediate past minister of aviation, Hadi Sirika, nothing yet. These are issues. So you see, until we begin to fight these things for this kind, and that's why a few weeks ago I lauded the new EFCC chairman. You understand? Because for them to have declared a person like Oluwagunloye wanted, he was declared wanted on the pages of newspapers, on TV, and the man came. He was interrogated. At least, the optics are very encouraging. That we have a new sheriff in town who's ready to fight graft without fear or favor. So this is going to determine the direction of the Tinubu anti-corruption direction. Drive. Yes, people are going to say that that Tinubu has an axe to grind with Emefiele. So be it. We all have axes to grind with people. You understand? And every
look at the revelations coming. It's not the Tinubu that put their legs on your neck.
Yes, because you see, that's why I said that who cares if Tinubu has an axe or a machete to grind with him? We don't care. The fact is, did you or did you not do these things? Because it's very important. One person cannot, because you see, we're talking about all these crises around Nigeria. People are poor. People look at Yuletide. Emefiele is gone, but then there's still scarcity of naira notes. So who are behind these problems of Nigerians? Because you see, if people get decent jobs, they get good living wages. You understand? They are engaged. Nobody will go and kill people at night. All these people who are killing Fulani leaders and those who are doing reprisal attacks because they are hungry. They are idle. Because if people are engaged, you see, if you are engaged, you are a mason or you're a carpenter, you work from morning till evening, you get paid, you want to go to your house to relax, and rest for the following day. But see, when people stay from morning till night, they're unemployed, their minds begin to wander. Okay, look at the man, that Fulani chief that was killed. Imagine where they caught the suspect in Lagos, in Yaba. And that's why I say that look at the military that's not even equipped to investigate homicide. They were able to engage the community, and they got leads that helped them.
So let's come back to this, because again, this casts a really dark spell on the nation's financial integrity.
Yes.
It also opens up a door for a lot of questions and mystery, because when you look at it, other stories will tell you that the Nigeria's external reserve has been depleted to about 4.28 billion, which is about 11.55%. And if you investigate all of these tragedy, you would find that it's somehow tied to all of these revelations coming in. The Naira, the redesign didn't work, couldn't have worked with this kind of revelation. We have Nairas that are not available to public and local people to even transact. Yeah. People say it's inflation, but others also say it's, financial rascality. So this alone in itself, Chooks, how damning is this on our financial integrity, one? And then secondly, what does this say about those who are manning the CBN?
No, that's it. Very interesting questions. You see, we have to really call the National Assembly to review the Banking Act, the CBN Act. Because, you see, he had deputy governors. You understand? So somebody was asking, is it that these deputy governors, they were so tied, or were they also complicit in that? Because a system, we saw what damning report by former Justice of the Supreme Court, Tatijo, that over 80% of the powers ruled by the Supreme Court is done by one man alone. So is it the same thing with the CBN, where you have the CBN governor, you have the deputy governors who are mere spectators, who are mere onlookers? Because this is very important. I was in the office of one bank CEO some I think 2 years ago, and I overheard a telephone conversation between him and the CBN governor, and the man was, literally weeping. The way the CBN, and I asked myself, is this how powerful the CBN governor is. You know, you put down the necks of, and any bank that does not, you know, that does not kowtow to you, you know, you use your powers and make them go under like Union Bank, and then bring funds to buy these banks. Because when Titan Trust Bank made a bid for Union Bank, some of us, I'm not a banking or financial expert, but I know that it's not possible to put a trailer on a Land Rover. That much I know. You know, how would a small animal swallow a big animal? You know, I mean, Union Bank, as far as we knew, because we used to know Union Bank as Barclays Bank until it was nationalized, and then it became Union Bank in Nigeria. I know in the 80s, 70s, it was Barclays Bank, then it became Union Bank. It's like talking about First Bank. They're talking about One Mushroom Bank, because we never even heard about Titan Trust Bank until they made that acquisition. And we raised eyebrows. But thank God, you know, the hen is coming to roost, and chicken is coming to roost, and the truth is emerging. But then, because you see, if people are not held liable for their actions, like we've spoken about Jos, about Taraba, and elsewhere, banks, you know, even governors, like those who have looted their state's resources, you know, in the next government, they are giving ministerial appointments. These are things, you know, the opposites are bad. Yes, it's a very bad PR for Nigeria because, you know, CBN anywhere in the world, reserve banks anywhere in the world, it's a very important institution. But then let us clean the audience table once and for all. It's very important so that those who are coming after MFLA, Kadaso, and the rest, they're also very, very careful. But then, like I said, the laws that's made it possible for one man to do this, if indeed he did that, you know, that law needed to be amended.
Thank you so much, Oksakuna, for this conversation. Quite insightful and very instructive. And I do hope you enjoy the rest of your festive season.
Thank you.
What's left of it.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much.